This weapon is insane. You just hover over them and they die, and you can shoot it on its own as well. It overheats so fast. It's so easy to use. You gotta be careful with this. Holy crap. I love it. The new Ancient Launcher is in the game. We're just going to do a really quick intro. Double miss monsters and bosses just to target the big boys. Crit rating, crit damage, just because we need that higher extra damage to kill them. Buckshot Raptor in the lead because I don't want to showcase this weapon super duper buffed by Demolitionist Penny. I really feel like this should be a support weapon, just encouraging your primary to do its job. So Buckshot lead, Toy Rockin' Out, Battle Beat, Wafer, Shell Shock, the whole normal deal. Shotgun loadout video down below if you guys want to learn more about that. Eternal Wanderer to run around the map more. I suspect I'm going to regret that because I'm recording this in the future. I forgot Chaos Agent. Please, if you're going to run a shotgun build, use Chaos Agent. But I didn't in my first game. It gets fixed, but I'm sorry. And then we do have Demo Penny, at least in support, just to make the weapon do a little bit more, but that's it. Let's hop in game. Let's get the madness going and get the game started. So this weapon is fascinating. You can just wave through a crowd and they just kind of die. That's amazing, but the single target damage is kind of bad. You see, when you go up to a single target like this, it does, you know, a little bit of a weird range. If you aim in, it explodes. I know it killed on that shot, but 470 isn't that much. I paired this with a shotgun loadout, hoping to not overrepresent the weapon because I wanted to just use a regular loadout. Figured shotgun build was just fine because the ground pounder is kind of insane. And I don't have Chaos Agent. That's a problem. But it seems like the high single target damage of the shotgun build pairs really well with a launcher that can just do that. That's actually so good. I love it. So apparently this works through walls. Does it hit scan through walls, or do you have to see them at one point and then it doesn't matter? That's amazing. So this wall has a little hole in it, but yeah, if you overheat, focus on it like this. Again, I need Chaos Agent in this build. I set up this loadout in haste, but I am loving this so far. All right, so we got another quick encampment. Lots of relatively low power enemies, and this is where you might not want to mark enemies. You just shoot it into the crowd. This is actually a decent launcher. I really like it. It's really precise for crowd clearing, marking individual targets, but this is what I was wanting to demonstrate earlier. So when you go up to a big target like this, you can just shoot it directly, but it looks like we're getting 800,000 on the high end. The shotgun, when it's reloaded, is much better for that. And can we go right through the Ride Husky? What? Apparently it ignores shielder bubbles as well? Oh, this is great. And then if you don't want to, you know, mark everything, well, I'm going to do it anyway because it's too fun, but you can just shoot it right in the middle of it. So it seems like I want to switch to my shotgun, take out the big target, and then everything else just sort of falls down to the launcher. This is so cool. The range on this is so neat. You just glance at a crowd, ADS, and then look on the bar. You don't want it to overheat, but oh, I didn't mark him. They go down so easy. The fact that you don't have to shoot, you barely have to aim. It's like backwards. So instead of lining up a target and then shooting it like with a sniper and a scope, you basically aim at it, and then as soon as you unscope, they die. Does it work on animals? It does. Wow. This is the most interesting weapon they've ever released, in my opinion. Like, you can't calculate this weapon based on damage per second because that's not how it operates. You can't just lay into a smasher and expect it to die. It's going to overheat in seconds, and that's not what it's meant for. But for basic crowd clearing, this is really, really interesting. I am fascinated. Okay, so we got a nice ranged moment while I'm setting up the defense, and propane's going down with ease. It overheats so fast, I can't stop myself from using it, but this is so interesting. All right, getting the defense started. So we do have boom base going, which means I have a 45.5% chance to crit, but these shielders, apparently it goes right through it. It doesn't always visually tell you that they've been marked, but this is amazing. I initially ran double miss monsters and bosses perks on this, and I feel like that might have been a mistake considering that it's not exactly a miss monster killer. It overheats really easily. I wonder if heat capacity might be good as well. I'm figuring this out as we go, and I'm also finding that when you are marking an enemy, it costs 1 energy cell per target. As stated, you know, going up against a smasher, definitely want to just use the shotgun. Going right through the Ride Husky is so good. Defending the mission is literally as easy as standing here and looking at the enemies. You switch off, handle the big boys while you wait for the cooldown. There's a nurse in the middle, and they all just die. It is a known bug in the game that it marks more than 8 enemies. It looks like it can only function on those 8, so that just might be a visual bug, but I haven't personally witnessed too much of it. And you can see the overheating is happening a little bit. I think potentially, actually, I can just do this right here. Running 2 copy of these might be really smart. Look at all that damage. You just wave over it, maybe make the shielder go away, kill him right there. Sorry if the audio is a little low, by the way. There is a current bug in the game that makes boom bass and ear splitter and a lot of audio stuff really, really loud. So I just have it turned down really, really quietly. I don't know if I know the launcher has a lot of different sound effects. So let's actually go way over here, out of range of boom bass, potentially lowering my crit chance. Let's crank the game volume just a little bit. I don't always do this, but I don't know if you guys can hear the beeping when it marks an enemy. I kind of love that. And then the sound effect is great. It looks really, really good. That explosion, I love that. But as stated, it's really not that much damage. And I am running Totally Rockin' Out, so we can at least see what it's doing when it's boosted. And yeah, 1.3 million is pretty good. That's really not bad. But, you know, if it takes Totally Rockin' Out to get up to 1.3 million, I mean, the launcher, the ground pounder, not the launcher, is getting over 1 million damage per crit pretty conveniently. So what I'm loving this weapon for is what I've already been saying. Just marking every single weapon in view, clearing out the area. Smasher comes on through, you take care of it. Stop to reload while, your double launchers here. Again, I really wish I had thought ahead to put Chaos Agent in this build, but whatever. Wait for all of these to get off cooldown. They were done a while ago, I'm sure, but I love this. 8 enemies hit so fast. Totally Rockin' Out is easy to activate. 2 of these is super fun. This is amazing. This is honestly amazing. I see very little reason to, let me turn it down a little bit more. I see very little reason to actually use the normal attack on this. It's actually so convenient to just aim through, ADS, everything just falls over. This is also really, really good for crows and glowing animals in general. I didn't record the clip when I did it earlier, but you basically just look at a crow and it dies, and then you can just go and pick up all of its loot. So, wow, that was wave 1 already. That was so fast. Archer's saying there's no heat capacity perks on this weapon. So what are the alternative perks for Mist monsters and bosses? Do you have that information ready?
It's damage and impact.
Damage and impact. So I don't think 30% damage is really going to do too much to this, but I am actively, I mean, kind of ignoring Mist monsters. And I am leaving a lot of enemies at low health. And while there is no affliction perk on this, that is something to consider. And the marking feature is a completely unique 6 perk. We assume this is going to be used on all, so you see that low health remaining. I feel like a damage perk might actually be better there. Like, I instinctively ran double Mist monsters and bosses, but I don't really think that's the way to go. And then sometimes it looks like it's just not marking. Maybe it's just it's overheating and I'm not aware of that. That 1 HP is bugging me. I really want to try damage, but it seems like that marking feature is going to be present on other ancient weapons. They added a whole ancient weapon section of the collection book, and it really seems like they wouldn't go to that effort unless they were going to add other weapons from this set. So it could be really cool to have an AR or a sniper or something where you're marking targets and just getting that work done. So yeah, mini bosses in the modern age. What do you do without a discharger? Well, first off, this is not an enemy that you would want to be using a discharger on. Second, you want a melee. I know that this is energy. All smokescreen mini bosses are physical, but Ravager is just the best. There are a lot of fantastic melees in the game. You could pretty much use any of them, but this build, I do have Warcry and Wafers and a triple attack Ravager, so that is what I'm going to do. But there's more. You can see you can actually use the heavy attack right away. So the 245% damage does maximum damage without any further stacks. It says that it stacks up to 5, but what's actually happening is every hit that you do is just increasing the size of the wave, meaning you can do millions of damage every single time you use that heavy attack from just 1 or 2 hits. So if you're using the Ravager versus a smokescreen mini boss like our team was there, you saw how easily it went down. None of us are running melee builds, by the way. You can just attack it once or twice or whatever. There is a swing animation that's a little hard to get around. Technically, you could only attack once, but whoa! I know my teammates were working on that one, but look how easily everything went down. Now, it is like still, so it's not, okay, so it does have to actually reload. I'm seeing that now. That's why it wasn't working earlier, I think. I ran out of ammo, and it has a 0.9-second reload time, which is a little hard for me to keep track of. There's a lot of information on the screen, a lot of tires going up and down. I'm usually looking out at the enemies I'm facing, but I can now see in the bottom right that it doesn't quite activate right away. And that's the fluidity of this weapon. It feels so natural to just aim in, mark a bunch of targets, and watch them go. But you can see in the bottom right, it does look like it's actually marking and affecting more than the 8 targets that's intended. You have to pay attention to that reload and the overheating. So if I'm not mistaken, I'm recording this unmuted if you guys want to jump in. This is the first overheating weapon that actually does have a reload that you have to worry about, or like an ammo limiter. Am I wrong? Or maybe the deatomizer has it as well.
So
no, it doesn't. This has like
the
overheating and a mag size.
The invasion weapons are kind of like this because I don't think the people who are making the weapons now for Save the World know how to properly implement overheating. So like they use ammo, but they also overheat at the same time for some reason. I don't get it. Which is why when the Shooting Star came out, the heat capacity perks didn't work on it because they were not properly set up because the weapon was technically not like a real overheat. Like I don't know if Epic knows how to implement overheating in Save the World anymore.
Okay.
I think they might have forgot how to do that.
Oh my god, what a bold claim from Archer here. Well, regardless, it is a lot to keep track of, where you have an ammo size, you have 10 rounds that does reload, and if I hit C to reload, it just does it on its own. It's weird. You have to keep up with the overheating and the mag size at the same time, and it's kind of a lot. So, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to jump into another game. I feel like I kind of saw what I wanted to, but even as I'm thinking this, I really want to try a double damage perk or whatever, and see how that does versus normal enemies. So I'm going over the perks of this weapon right now, and not only can you only have the 1 damage perk, but we have 2 missed monsters and bosses, which is weird, and the reperk costs 1. We're kind of laughing about the fact that it looks like they took the plasmatic discharger perks and just copy pasted them onto this weapon, but like kind of in reverse, except that we have 2 1 reperk options instead of the 1. I don't know, but regardless, I'm going to hop into another game with the damage perk instead of missed monsters and bosses and see if that makes it just a little more consistent versus normal enemies. Something else you could also consider is triple damage, it seems like. I'm going to stick to the crit build. We have Boom Base, and I have Totally Rockin' Out, and 45.5% is a pretty good crit chance. Watching that spike when it crit was pretty good. Also, definitely, I know Eternal Wanderer is fantastic, but I need Chaos Agent. I miss it so much. So we haven't quite started the mission yet, but now I can demonstrate how nice this is for crows. I usually use the Xenon Bow and might still do that, but this is so convenient. You just look at the crow and then just watch it fall over. I kind of dig it. I like it. Okay, so I'm learning something here so that it doesn't overheat as much. Just marking a single enemy, I can see that every time you kill marked enemies of any quantity, it looks like it's using half of your overheating energy there, or at least overheating capacity. So that's why you can get off 3 quick shots before it overheats, because you're basically using like down to 50, from 70 down to 20, and then you're empty or whatever. So it looks like if you look at the bar and you space it out just a little bit, you could do, okay, I overheated right there. That's interesting. I'm wondering what the capacity, does it use more as you go, or was I just mistaken there? Because I mark all of these, and then I get up to that amount of usage. You want to get... Oh, it freezes when you aim it. That's what happened. So I was expecting it to continue going down, but it did not. So wherever it is, you want to make sure that you are underneath that halfway mark when you let it... Like right now, that's when you want to be able to aim in. That way you never let it overheat. Like right now, you wait until now. Okay, so it's when you ADS that it actually starts tracking, and I can't do it. Now I can do it here. Okay. Well, that's a lot more fluid. I still think using 2 of them is a more organic way to manage that, but now I'm better understanding the weapon. All right, Archer's got something for the video.
So I think this should have been mentioned like earlier, but I don't think anyone's gonna actually try this. The thing cannot target onto environmental objects, which means you cannot use it on the crystals or the horn in Storm King because they are environmental objects. So like you could hover the thing on the Storm King's crystals as long as you want, and it's not going to do anything to them. It won't even target onto it.
Even if you use the left click, you kind of just have to limp it up there.
Yeah, and the left click, the launcher itself is like it's just like it's like shooting a lead ball. So you really have to aim up really high to get it to hit the crystals.
Does not seem like this weapon is going to be effective in MSK, like, at all. Although I will say, maybe clearing out the surrounding enemies could be a really good job for this weapon. Just to wave it around, because there are a lot of 160 enemies that are not fairly difficult to kill, but they swarm you in MSK. Pulling this thing out and just going, and just watching them all die could be highly effective. However, I will say hotbar slots in the MSK fight are not only highly sought after, but they're also pretty refined. People usually know what their Storm King loadout kits are, but it's something worth considering. All right, wave 2, or game 2 with an actual damage perk. And I did put more traps down this time. So with a better understanding of how the overheating works and a better perk setup and more traps to fuel extra crits, this is going to be a good time. Yeah, I considered running a game with Demo Penny in the lead just to show this weapon as strong as it possibly can be, but the upper damage of this weapon is less interesting to me than it was before. Although I will say it's doing a decent job. I plan to switch off to my shotgun, but that has not proven to be necessary. Okay, so that's why it wasn't working before. I kept overheating and not noticing it. I feel like I'm getting this weapon more and more bit by bit. I did lower my volume again. It's a little weird to have everything so quiet. Having feedback on the weapon while I'm using it is preferred as a gamer, but wow, that is fun to watch. But yeah, boom bass being as loud as it is it's nice to have the extra crits, but yeah. So it freezes when you aim in, and it looks like that's going to overheat. Okay, so then we could switch off to the other copy. This is really, really fun. We were talking about this for MSK, where I don't know if this weapon has a lot of use in the Storm King fight, but if you wanted to use it to just quickly wave over a bunch of enemies and then just remove them from your field of view, and then focus in on whatever's remaining, that would be really, really well done for this. And it's really cost effective as well. We're looking at 1 energy cell per enemy. Now, it's not an explosion on a per enemy basis. It looks as though when you mark an enemy, it really does hurt just that enemy. So it's a very, very precise incision in the crowd in front of you. It's really interesting. There has truly never been a weapon anything like this in Fortnite Save the World. And as someone who's been covering these weapons for a half decade now, that is really exciting to me. As I said, I ran double miss monsters and bosses almost on instinct because I thought, yeah, it's a launcher. We're going to go kill a mini boss or, you know, smash or whatever. And we wanted to do as much as possible. That is just not the weapon we're dealing with. And I don't know if this is going to be in my regular loadouts or not. You guys do know I like to have a sidearm. I've been showing videos on the channel more recently where I have an explosive weapon as a secondary just to clear out the crowds. I really like that. I think that's a really clean thing to do. And this is an interesting contender for it. The damage is really decent. This is not supercharged. This is just a 130 copy, but you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Use the launcher, clear out all the normal enemies. I have Chaos Agent, isn't it so nice? And then they all just die. I love it. They get frozen. I think someone's using Zenith. This is a really, really neat weapon. I guess we can go up against a Smasher here just anyway. I thought I had grabbed wafers to some capacity. There we go. Yeah, so it's, let's see. It's not shooting. There we go. It was reloading. Shoots a little slowly. It's like 1,000,000 damage. Like, it's not a lot, and you can shoot the whole thing into a crowd, but I really see no reason to do that. ADSing and just waving through them and then exploding them normally is not only faster, but it's cheaper and more cost effective. So, yeah, what a weird weapon. So, the last use case that I think is worth showing off in today's video is standing up top. Wow, my teammates are up here as well. There was no communication, by the way. I didn't even tell stream I was running up here, but it really seems like this weapon would be really, really good for flingers and lobbers. Now, I am playing with a lot of very experienced players who know how the game goes, and they probably... Okay, my lights are turning off because it is so late. They go off automatically at midnight. I am pulling a late one just to record this video. But Wave 2 of Ride the Lightning often has flingers and lobbers, so we're all just sort of getting up here preparing. And it looks like this weapon is really good for targeting enemies far away. Granted, this wave is not representing that fact. It's not 100%, but the weapon seems to have unlimited range. It's a little hard to... Oh, hey, can I just do it here? Does it work? Do I have like a clear line of sight? Is that what's stopping it? Because it looks like if you can see the enemy, you'll be able to mark it, which is kind of crazy. Kind of crazy indeed. Okay, Smashers are getting a little rowdy over here. There we go. I'm not eating a wafer for some reason. I guess Battle Beat just kicked in. Okay, and here we have a mini boss. What kind of mini boss are we going to have? I know, with the discharger gone, People are all about dealing with these. Let's see what we've got. Tank, acid pools, volcanic. Okay, first for a ground pounder, that should be no problem. Wafer into shooting the single target, into war cry, into wafer plus the reload, adrenaline rush just to keep the health up. Lay into it with as much headshots as possible. Frag grenade for the reload. Hard to see anything with the ancient launcher everywhere, and the snowball launcher getting in my way. But yeah, ground pounder handles mini bosses really, really well. If you are somebody who is lamenting the loss of the discharger, I highly recommend the ground pounder, the huskbuster. Most shotguns are doing a pretty good job with mini bosses, so I recommend giving them a try. You'll be pleasantly surprised with the results. I've seen a lot of commenters, I'll address that slightly, that have mentioned that the game is dead now and that they can't play anymore because the discharger has made the game, like the discharger being fixed is making the game impossible to play. I don't know about that. The game was very playable before it ever existed, and the Storm King fight is doable just as it always was, just going to be a little bit trickier now. I personally prefer a challenge, and I've never been completely married to the way the discharger operated since day one. I've been educated on the fact that the discharger has been bugged. Like, there is no reason for it to be functioning the way that it is, and I've always expected it to get fixed. Why they let it work the way it did for as long as it has worked that way, I'm really not sure. Maybe they knew they wanted to fix it, but they wanted to wait until they had something to replace it with. That could make sense. Like, maybe they've had the discharger fix ready to go for a long time, but they thought, well, let's just give them like a really interesting weapon to at least give them something to get distracted by the bad news. And I think that has balanced out well. Like, they fixed the strongest weapon in the entire game, for Smashers at least, for Smashers and MSK and FaZe at least. And then they've come in and just given us this really interesting toy that has instantly captured our attention. Like, I'm digging it. This is a fun weapon that I think is going to see used in a lot of future missions, and I'm looking forward to that. But without waffling for another 40 seconds, I don't have much else to add. I think this is an awesome weapon with a lot of uniqueness to it, and I'm glad that they're improving the game by adding something so wildly unique. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to have a best perks out on this. Obviously, if you've watched this entire video, you kind of know the answer already, but I know a lot of people like me to cover that more specifically, so I'm going to get to that as well. Subscribe if you're new. If you're a channel member, I do post my videos early access for channel members on the channel. I don't usually do like guides and stuff for members early. I don't like to paywall information, but when it's new exciting stuff like this, it all just goes out fast. So yeah, sloppy outro, but yeah, subscribe, like the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. And then